Welcome to Yoga with Sara. This is my own special blend of Yin Yoga and Bowspring Yoga. I combined the stretchy, slow mindfulness of Yin with the strength-building aspect of Bowspring, creating a class series which balances strong and stretchy. This class was recorded live and has been edited for clarity, privacy, and length. Enjoy! Well, welcome everybody to Yin Relax with Bowspring Elements. This is number 5 of 9. For props, you don't need a whole lot. A block, 2 blankets, and a belt, and of course anything you want for Shavasana. So we are going to do pigeon pose. So if you know you need extra proppage for pigeon, then you can go ahead and get yourself set up for that. And then we will join each other seated on our mats. Do have a block to rest your head on at some point. We're going to start out with Sufi rolls and then moving forward into some hip openers. So often I like to have us sitting on something behind, but I notice when I do Sufi rolls, if I'm sitting on something, then I feel like I can't really roll around very much. So your choice on whether you want to have a little booster or not. And of course you can sit on a chair. You don't have to be on the ground. I want you to make it as comfortable as possible for yourself tonight. Let us begin to bring ourselves more fully present here now to this body, the way it feels in this seat. I just said I wasn't going to do a butt booster, but now I'm like, ow, my SI joint and my knee hurt. So now I am going to. And that does provide relief right away. So honor what's happening in your body. If you have pain, ease it. More props can be better. Or even changing position. Let us set our intentions to stay present in this practice for whatever arises, to honor our own needs, even if that means winging it in your own practice and doing your own thing. I encourage it. Finding a lengthened spine, let us gently close our eyes. Allow the throat to feel open. Allow the breath to start coming fully into the body, gently, not forcing, not a huge expansion, unless you want a big expansion so you can sigh it out and let go of your weak. But simply a settling in here. Let us draw our shoulders up to our ears, kind of turtle your neck down into your shoulders, feeling this tightness at the tops of the shoulders, the sides of the neck, and then slowly, slowly drop the shoulders. Don't drop them, glide the shoulders away from the ears, settling them down the back. Seeing if you can let go of unconscious contraction, which is what often happens in our shoulders. Especially if we used to carry a purse or something, like one shoulder's up, or remember when phones were where you could pinch them between your ear and your shoulder? That caused a lot of tension. Nowadays, mousing, I don't know. Take it a few times, letting these shoulders float, 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 finding that muscular engagement, and then letting them float down. I'm noticing there's a lot of hitch in my giddy up. It's like ratcheting down as I relax the shoulders. That might be happening for you too. One more. Up to the ears, and this time lift your chin, let your head tip back. And then as you drop the shoulders, let the head slowly tip forward toward the center of the collarbones. Lift the head just a little so you don't have strain on the neck, but let the chin roll over toward one shoulder. Down toward center, not overstretching, over to the other shoulder. Back to center, floating the head to upright. Turn it to the first shoulder. Let your eyes look over your shoulder. Let your shoulder creep up to your jaw. Drop it down ever so slowly. Turn the head back to center and turn it to look over your second shoulder. Holding here, let the eyes look even further. Lift that second shoulder up to your jaw and glide it back down. Turning the head back to center. I'll be more specific with my instructions now. We're going to work into this back part of the neck. Let's take our right hand and turn it palm up, make a little fist, and then pull your elbow back behind you and lift your shoulder up. And turn your head a little to the left and then tip it back to the right. So almost like we're going to touch the back of the right ear to the back of the right shoulder, but not that far. And then soften out that tension. Drop the right hand down to the knee or even to the floor as you tilt the left side jaw down to the left collarbone. Or maybe you turn your head a little bit more left. So I'm not quite sure where it will be in your body, but find sensation in this upper back right shoulder and the back of the right side of the neck. And then release. Taking it on the second side, left palm comes out in front, turns up, make a little fist, pull your left elbow behind you. Turn your head a bit to the right, and then, this is a technical term, squinch your left shoulder and back of left head toward each other. This is a good way to get rid of a crick in your neck. I mean, it feels like you're creating one, but you're activating the muscles and then consciously, softly releasing. Letting the shoulder drop down, let the chin start to tuck toward the right collarbone. The left hand might reach out toward the floor on your side or toward where the knee is. It depends on where the sensation is in your body that you want to find, or it finds you, perhaps. Take a breath if you've forgotten, and let everything release back to center. Good. All right, now I really am going to move my props. You may also want to or not. I'm going to loosen up my easy seated position a little bit. Let's put, oh, my floor is really creaky. Let's put our right foot in front of our left foot. So our heels may or may not be quite aligned, but the legs are one in front of the other. What this is going to do is cause more opening in the front leg hip. Hands to the knees, we start to roll ourselves around to the front, side, rounding the spine to the back, and over to the side again. I have to get off that creaky spot. Give yourself permission to take this as slow or as fast as you want. And notice, I'm like, ooh, this is a tight spot. I'm gonna go back and forth over this spot a few times. It might be a different place for you. You might even notice that the shoulders want to dip in for a little twist. Or I kind of feel like a bulldog here. Like when I come forward, I'm turning my hands inward and letting my elbows lift up and pushing my shoulders forward to find this opening through the chest and the front of the shoulders. So make this your own until eventually You allow yourself to come a little further out in front, and the hands can start to support the weight in front. And as if you are a leaf in the fall and you are just floating back and forth, allowing the body to settle down over the legs toward the floor. This is where having that prop to drop your head onto could be nice. Some folks won't need it. You will allow yourself to round. The lovely thing with yin is we just let our head hang if we want to. For some folks, this doesn't work for hip or knee or whatever reason, and you don't have to do it from this forward folding position. A position many of us are familiar with are laying on our back, right ankle to left knee, knees drawn in. It's very much the same in our right hip, but it's somehow easier on our knees. So that is an alternate position if the forward folding isn't working for you today. For folks who are wanting to take this a bit deeper, you notice that if your right leg is in front, your right toes are actually pointed off to the left. You might walk your hands over to the left and find a little bit more length over the back of this right hip. Or maybe it's somewhere else for you. Maybe it's inner thigh, over the ribs. We'll take a few more breaths with this right leg being the front leg. You can experiment with drawing the breath to the place where you feel the most sensation. And of course, you don't have lungs in your hip or in your glutes, but that's okay. You can imagine the breath, the energetic quality of the breath going there and helping release tension. As you start to feel complete on this side, the head can float up, the hands can take the weight of the body to walk the body toward upright. The hands help the knees come in. Note which foot is in front. Let's just send our legs out for a minute to shake out the knees, or you could take this kind of windshield wiper or legs rolling in and out, depending on how your body's feeling. Something might feel right for you. When you feel ready, the foot that was in front now will become the one closer to the body, and the other foot will land in front. This will most likely be your unfavorite foot. That's okay. Hands to the knees. We start to find our Sufi roll. Most likely your body went in its favorite direction. Reverse. Unfavorite leg, unfavorite direction. It's good to go a different way. We can challenge our brain tracks this way. Help ourselves out of sensory motor amnesia. So just like the first side, we're a little more warmed up. You may find yourself just wanting to roll. Maybe you don't want to pause, or maybe you're ready to swoop down over your front legs. Well, I'm not sure you have any back legs, but over your legs. Or maybe you think, oh, a twist would feel good, and then you can add it in. Eventually, we will end up folded out over our legs, The hands can help us. We can float our way down, starting to get into this left hip now because it's the left leg that is in front. And again, for some, this doesn't work. And then it's easy enough to make a change, laying on your back, left ankle to right knee, draw the legs in. Now, what's nice about this is there's way less pressure on your knees. And for folks who are going to walk their bodies over to the right, toward the direction their left toes are pointing, you can simulate that in this ankle to knee position by letting the legs do the tipping instead. So you can try out a rocking twist or lingering on one side or the other. Folks who are ready to take this deeper, who are still folded straight forward, can begin to walk their hands to the right. And it might be resting on elbows. It might be using a block because you're not quite ready to get to the floor with your elbows. Lots of options for height with a block. Or it might be that the head can come down and rest on the block. Or even all the way to the floor. Arm position can stay still, or you can creep your left hand out and walk the fingers along the floor and get even longer through this left side body over the left ribs. I feel it quite a bit in this outer left hip when I do that. Bring the energy of the breath to the places that feel tight or scared or stiff in your body. And let the spaciousness of breath help you find ease in those places. And when you feel complete, we start to walk the hands toward the head comes off the floor, we ease our body toward upright. There's a lot of bending in the knees and the hips. Help the knees come up, let the legs come out, and just shake out the knees a little bit. We are going to move into a deeper hip opener. So that was our hip opener warm-up. We'll move toward pigeon pose. And for folks who are a little bit worried about this for their knees, let me demonstrate a little something. Let's see. So, okay, I'm going to do it on this side. Traditionally, pigeon, the leg comes forward and then, oh, so stiff, the butt sits on the ground. Right, that's not happening. So this is where our folded blankets are gonna come in really handy, or like I've got these little cushions that I can stuff in around under me, a block up for my head. So if you still want to maintain kind of the traditional shape where you are directly over your foot, then get yourself a bunch of props so you can sit down without strain. I don't feel like we have to maintain that traditional shape. I'm going to show a slightly different shape, but I need some cushion because I'm going to come forward. So another way to do this is kind of a side-seated pigeon, and this is where the leg comes forward. But instead of going straight down, we just let ourselves sit off to the side. Now, I still need something under my back ankle. And essentially, this is almost like the leg we just had in our easy seated position. So we're kind of in a side-seated sloppy pigeon, or whatever, we'll just call it side-seated pigeon. It's not sloppy, it's a new form. And then our bodies might rotate a bit. Now I'm already having a lot of opening in this right hip. This is my right leg that's in front. And this might be enough. Or maybe you let yourself come down again. So there's variations here. Let's do our right leg first. And I don't care which way you want to do it, except that I want you to not hurt yourself. So ways to get in: you can slide your right knee forward like I first demoed, or you can come up into your down dog so you have lots of space and then you have a little more room to step your right leg forward. As you start settling in, you'll notice, well, does my back knee feel strained? Does my front knee feel strained? And that's when you can decide if you want to do the more side-seated version. Whichever way you go, your choice. The Hatha style is a more upright. The Yin style, we lay down. And then in Yin, this is called sleeping swan, once you lay your body out over your leg. Bowspring has a pigeon pose too. They call it falcon, but it's much more upright and very muscular, not at all about opening the hip. We'll be here a little while, so give yourself time to experiment. So I'm noticing that I kind of want to wiggle. It's my right leg that's in front. I want to wiggle my right leg a little more to the left. And then I don't actually have to twist my upper body off of my mat, because I just moved my lower body a little more into a twist position. Use any props you might want to rest your forehead on, or your whole upper body. So I just pulled my bolster in here, and now it's a restorative pigeon. That's kind of nice. I still have sensation. I'm still opening my hip, but I just made it so easy on myself. It makes me want to laugh. Let a small smile come to your face, if it hasn't already. Let your mind settle into the sensations that your body is experiencing. We'll take a few more breaths on this side. Let yourself make any adjustments that you want to make for these last few breaths. So you might be wondering how you get out of this. If you did the side-seated position, I think it's easy just to let yourself untwist. So you come to kind of this funny helicopter leg side-seated position, and then help your legs in until you're on your butt. If you did the more traditional pigeon pose, you can lift up your back leg and step back to kneeling or to down dog, depending. And if you came from the side seated, from your helicopter back to your regular, same thing. We will meet up on hands and knees and take any movement here that you need for your in-between, like a cat-cow or a down dog or a child's. A C curve. And if on the other side you thought, I wish I'd have had a bolster so I could have laughed out loud at myself like Sara did, grab one. Get some more props ready if you think you might want them or need them. I noticed that my back leg needed a prop and I wished I'd had one, but I didn't get one. So I'm going to get myself that blanket ready this time. However you want to get there, go ahead. You can choose to draw your left knee forward in a big step, or you can choose to tuck toes, come to down dog, and then step your left leg forward. Make your choice on if you are doing the more aligned with the mat, traditional style of pigeon pose, or if you would like to sit off to the side and give yourself a little break here. So now I've got my back leg resting from the shin to the foot on a folded blanket, and that feels a little better on my knee. That's something that might feel nice for you as well. Depending on if you're side-seated or aligned with the mat, either way, we start to let our body lower down. If you're side-seated, you might do a little twist, or you might walk your left leg a little more to the right instead of doing a twist. Find sensation in this left butt and hip. So wherever it is that you need to move to find that, give yourself the time and the experimenting to do so. Good. If you think this isn't right, then make it right. Wiggle around, grab more props, do whatever you need to do to make it right. Now in Yin, we linger, and so things change. So something that was right a minute ago, it suddenly needs, not suddenly, because I don't want you to move quickly, but you notice it's different, and you need to make a little change to wiggle into your new space. You can allow that. So although we work with stillness in a Yin practice, we allow movement as things change. Sometimes movement is going deeper, and sometimes it's easing out or finding a new alignment. Let's take a few more breaths. And when you feel complete, we start to ease our way back to our hands and knees. And lots of ways to get there. I gave you a couple on the other side. I just thought of another one on this side. Especially if you're in that side-seated position, you can just let yourself roll onto your front leg hip and then pull your front leg forward. And then you're just kind of comfortably seated in Pretty Lady twist. But that might not work. Maybe you are more aligned in the center and you need to tuck your back toes and lift your back knee and then step your front leg back to plank or down dog. Either way, meeting up on hands and knees and then taking a little bit of movement. So moving through a few cat-cows. Letting the tail reach behind you as the hands dig in and the heart reaches forward. And then moving in the opposite direction, the tail tucks, the belly button pulls toward the sky, the head hangs, and you let the head shake itself out a few times. Yes, no. These are super slow cat-cows. Letting yourself come back to neutral. Tuck the toes. Lift the knees. You need your sticky mat here. Press it back to a crouching down dog position. And then lift the behind a little more and just pedal out the feet a few times. This is where we're going to move slightly more into our bowspring practice. Let your feet come a bit wider on your mat. If you've got any props in the way on either side of your feet, just clear those out. Okay. And then let the knees bend. Let the hands walk you in a little closer. Lift the tail to the sky. And we start to try and find this length. So this isn't down dog anymore. This is crouching cat in the bowspring practice. Knees stay deeply bent. Tail lifts. Heart tries to draw a little bit forward. It's quite muscular. And then we're going to come into twisting crouching cat. Let your toes turn to the left. Your knees also turn to the left. Your left hand gets light. You make it into a dome hand. And then spring load. Sit back, lift up. Sit back, lift up. Next time you sit back, try to tip your tail way behind you like you're going to sit way back behind your right heel. And back up. Turning back to center. Coming back into your crouching cat. This time let your head hang, shake it out a little. Good. Looking up, the tail lifts up. The knees bend deeply, the toes turn to the right, the knees turn to the right. The tail reaches behind you to the left, right hand comes to dome hand. And we spring load our side crouching cat a few times. Crouching in deeper and lifting up, keeping the right side ribs long. Last time, sit deeply behind you. You don't have to sit all the way down. Good. And back up to your crouching cat. And come forward to drop your knees to hero's pose. Here's where you might need a block to sit on. We're going to sit on our shins. So this could be high. So I've got mine on the medium setting, low, or you don't even need it. You can simply sit on your heels. I'm not going to do that today. My knee is a little too not happy. Good. Hero's pose. Again, you'll find it in Hatha, you'll find it in Yin, you'll find it in Bowspring. They all call it, well, they don't all call it something different. Yin calls it saddle, but then often wants you to do back bend, lay down behind you. We're not going to do that today. But the reason is to tilt the pelvis forward. So that's the point of this pose, is to help our low backs and our pelvises maintain their natural. So if you sit so high that you end up being able to slump your low back, then that's a little the wrong way. So try to let the front sides of your sit bones roll to the floor. The tail kind of points to the corner of the room behind you. The low back is curved. Let the hands come to dome hands on your thighs. So fingertips are on the thighs. The center of the palm is lifting toward the back of the hand. Press lightly into the thighs. Imagine that you can push the thighs up into the hands. Lift the fronts of your ankles and draw your toes a little bit forward. This is a lot of activity now. Now lengthen from the pubic bone up to the collarbones, even lift the chin a bit. And now that you've really arced into your back, I want you to breathe into your back. See if you can breathe into these mid and lower back ribs. Lots of leg and back strengthening here. One more breath. Relax your arms, your back, your ankles. We'll take that in a different way, adding on the headrest twist. So if you don't remember this, this is where we bring a hand just kind of lightly to the head and we push the head into the hand. This time we'll do it and we'll also take a tiny little twist while we do our dome hand with the other hand and while we do the ankle stuff and the back stuff and all that. So lots to focus on in the body and the breath. Finding our base first, let us root down into the tops of our legs, but now lift the fronts of your ankles away from the floor. Imagine drawing the tops of the toes toward the shins. Let the low back find a curve. The tail reaches behind you toward the corner of the wall behind you. The pubic bone to collarbone to chin gets long. Let both hands come to dome hands. Imagine pushing the legs up into the hands while the hands are pushing into the legs. And you're quite activated in your whole body. Adding on to this, let's take our left hand to the side of our head, elbow points forward. And you can let your fingertips come around to the back of the head. Push the head into the hand into the head. This might be enough. Or you might want to add on turning the upper body to the left just a little, looking up to the left corner of the room. Take a breath and unwind yourself. Build your base again. Root into your shins, lift the ankles, draw the toes forward, send the tail behind you, lengthen the front line, hands in dome hands, you lift the arches of the hands into the backs of the hands. Breathe into the low back ribs. Bring the right hand behind the head, elbow points forward, push the head into the hand, and the hand and head into each other. This may suffice, or you might decide to take a little twist, looking up to the upper right side of the room. I notice my left hand is collapsing. See if you can keep that left hand in its integrity. On the exhale, ease your way out of this. Good, good, good. That's a lot, right? It's like we're just sitting there and there's a lot going on. Let's let our hands come out in front of us. Get rid of your block, just set it aside. If you have a belt or a scarf or something you can use, just have that ready to grab. The reason being, I'll have you do an arm opener eventually, so just have that nearby. From hands and knees, again, take a little free motion. We just did kind of an extreme strengthen our back bend. See what the back needs. Does it need to rest in child's pose? Would it feel good to, move this? Would it feel good to come to your forehead and just roll the forehead a bit side to side? Somehow that does feel nice, like a little head massage. Other folks might be wanting to take a down dog again. So any kind of free motion position that makes you feel rebalanced after your strengthening hero's twist. If you would like to add on a bit more of a stretch here, what you can do, let me just turn that in, is from your kneeling position, bring a scarf or a TheraBand or a belt or whatever you need behind you. And I've got my hands a little wider than my body. Yours might even be out 6 to 12 inches away from your body. You'll find out once you go upside down. Root through your legs, lift up the fronts of your ankles, send your butt behind you, but don't sit all the way down. Reach your body forward, your arms come up in the air behind you, you land on your forehead gently, not with a thunk, and then roll to the crown of the head as the arms reach for the sky. This is where you might just find a little bit more head massage, or you might find a deeper opening of the shoulders. And you can play around with gliding the shoulder blades toward the ears and then toward the back pockets, or with twisting the arms a little bit. But do be gentle here. We are, this is a delicate position for the shoulder girdle and for the neck. So if this feels at all compromising, you could from standing on your knees as well. Okay. Or sitting on your shins. When you feel complete with the arm opener, we'll try to bring ourselves back with muscular work. Roll toward the forehead, the hands start to reach behind you. We use our muscles to lift our body up. We're rooted to our legs, but our fronts of our ankles are lifting off the floor, and we make our way up into kneeling. Releasing your belt or whatever you were using to the side. Okay. We're going to come down to a side lying position that needs a folded blanket behind it. So, and possibly a bolster or another folded blanket out in front. So it'll look something like this. This is where my head is going to be. And then I'm just going to have this one for my leg. And you're going to lay in front of this on your side. I'm going to lay on my right side. I don't care what side you lay on. Pretend like you're a little kid and you're going to watch TV. So you're laying curled up in TV watching position with your head in your hand. Okay. Couple of options. Well, one, you might need your belt again here because we're going to work to find a quad stretch in our bottom leg. But there's all kinds of levels here. So let's go over a level that would feel restorative and you don't even care about your quads. You just want to rest. That's what that blanket is there for behind you. You just roll your shoulders and your head onto it and you're like, oh my God, yes, this is good. And then that's enough. I've got the wall, I've got my bolster, I don't even care. It's like how dogs lay with their heads hanging off of the bed and you think, what's their deal? It doesn't matter. You just land however feels comfortable. That's level 1, super comfort. Level 2, you do want the quad stretch, so you're going to go for it. So you just scoot your top leg. I got to get this out of your view so you can see my legs better. Okay, you just scoot your top leg a little bit deeper. No, your bottom leg deeper, and then rotate it until you can reach your bottom foot with your top arm, or with your arm extender, right? So it doesn't have to be your hand. I'm lucky enough that I can reach it with my hand. And then that bottom leg scoots behind you, and the top leg gets this blanket to lay on somehow. I moved it so you could see my legs, but now I can't get comfortable. Okay, right? So now you're just hanging out in TV watching position with a quad stretch on your bottom leg, but maybe you want to lay down in your twist too. Well, that's great because you still have your blanket behind you and you just lay down. And I'm still resting my head on my hand, and that feels comfortable. I just kind of feel pinned here. It's like sort of restorative and sort of stretchy at the same time. Some folks don't even need to have the blanket pad behind their head. I just like to, so that the twist isn't overly deep. Another option, if you want to do a quad stretch, but that twist is just too much, don't do the bottom leg. I'm just going to put the blanket between my legs, and you can do the top leg instead. What's kind of funny about this one, there's nothing funny about it at all. It's really great. That works too. So work with your body. However it works for you, you can do that. The extent of the pose is cattail. That's the name of it, is cattail pose. And I don't even know if I can do it. I'll see. It's the quad stretch on the bottom, the twist on the top, and then potentially grabbing the foot of the top leg with the bottom arm. That is not restful. I don't want to do that. You could try it if you want, but I feel like I'm going to tweak my knee. So pick the one that's right, and then just relax. Let yourself settle in. Remember that in Yin we are quiet and still and allowing, not pushing. We make a change as we need to, as the body changes itself. Notice here in this quad stretch that we are allowing a little curve in the low back. We're not tucking the tail. We're letting the tail send itself behind us just a bit. You're welcome to allow the head to turn. Maybe it wants to reach itself to look behind you. Or maybe the chin wants to tuck toward a collarbone and then away from a collarbone, depending on if you're having a lot of neck tension. This is a time when you could give a little more attention to the tension. As you feel complete, you might just gently let go of that bottom leg or the top leg, depending on how you did the pose. Let your knees come together. They might rest on your prop. Unwind your body to come to a more curled up position. And you can decide how you want to get to your other side. I'll sit up and swing around so I can keep facing you, but you could just roll over and face away from the camera. Either way is fine, but somehow we need to curl up on our second side. I'm going to cue it as my left side, but I'll try to just say top and bottom arms and legs. Get your landing pad for your twist set up behind you, and get a bolster for your leg set up in front of you, and then lay down on your second side, curled up, knees drawn in. Keep that landing pad behind you, don't lay on it. And then test it by laying back and seeing, whoops, I missed because my head is hanging off. So I know I need to lift it a little higher. So make any adjustments to the placement of your props. Check again. Yep, that's just right. And then make your choice. Did you choose the extra relaxing, just a supported twist option last time? That is so comfortable. Or did you decide to attempt the quad stretch on the lower leg, bringing it behind you, lifting that foot up to grab with the top arm, and then rolling open? As you roll open, you draw that bottom leg back further. Did you think, oh, I'm going to go for it and try and reach my top leg with my bottom arm? I mean, I could, but do I want to? Not really. Or did that bottom leg, did that twisting with the quad stretch not work in your body, but you want the quad stretch, and then you could do the top leg and then possibly lay back onto your prop. Gosh, that feels good. So any of those options, and remember you've got your arm extender in the form of a belt or a TheraBand or whatever that you can use to hook onto your foot instead of using your hand if your arm to foot ratio isn't quite long enough yet. Let yourself settle in. Give a little smile at the semi-silliness of moving from TV watching pose to cattail pose. And really this is like the pretzel twist, right? And it's just kind of fun and silly to move ourselves in these ways. But it also opens up energy channels in our bodies. It frees us from stagnation, and it helps us get out of pain, and it helps us get into a peaceful mind. So let us enjoy these things as we settle here, opening up our bodies, allowing the breath to breathe us, and maintaining our focus in this present moment. Feel that little bit of a lumbar curve, the tail reaching out behind you. Feel the lengthening of the quad, the spaces between the ribs. Kind of easygoing comfort of resting your head in your hand. It's a bit of laying around in the sun or laying around in the yard or whatever kind of sensation, a carefreeness. And when you feel complete, gently let go of the leg. Gently unwind the body, coming into your curled up position. Maybe even drawing the knees in a little closer. When you feel ready, let your top foot reach behind you a little bit. That knee rolls to the sky. We roll ourselves on over onto our backs. Might have to move a few of your props. I don't want to let you be too stretchy wobbly. So let's do a little bit of stabilizing before we head into our final rest. Root into the feet. Simultaneously lift up through the arches by imagining that you are drawing the front of the foot toward the shin. Let the toes stay relaxed down. Arms lay down by your sides. Press into the feet and lift just the belly button or the belt line so the tail stays pressed to the ground. And now lift the whole butt and back. Keep that little arch in your back though, like you're gonna dip your tail down into the floor and your low back is gonna stay away from the floor. Maintain the lifting of the arches of the feet and the rooting of the rest of the feet. Press into the shoulders. We're getting a little bit higher. Now dip the tip of your tail down to the mat, maintaining an arch. Once the tail gets down there, pull with the feet, pull your tail toward your feet. You just activated your legs. Now let go. Soften the back, soften the legs, float the legs toward the sky. Float the arms toward the sky. Let us roll out wrists and ankles. I know I just asked you to do a lot with your back. If you're feeling like you need to hug the knees in to round the spine a little more, you can. Or you could lift the head and rock and roll for a bit of a back massage. Do one more little thing before you come into your full rest. Let yourself take a morning stretch. So arms reach up, back arches, legs could either stay bent and then kind of pull the knees in, or they could go long and the whole body could be lengthened from fingers to toes. Just to give yourself that sensation of allowing yourself to take up space. You are allowed to take up space. When you get done stretching and so on, then begin to let yourself settle in. And you might find you need a few more last minute things like a couple of sacrum circles or sacrum circles with hugging the knees in. Or maybe you got settled but you don't feel comfortable and you're not sure why. It could be a matter of changing your leg position. So if they were out straight and that didn't feel good, maybe a bolster and letting the knees come open to the sides in a reclining bound angle. Choose your final resting position. And begin to let go of the work. Embrace the knowing that you gave yourself a gift of taking care of yourself. In your Shavasana, arms can be by your sides, resting on your belly, or even under your head, like we were laying earlier. This is a very interesting, elbows out to the sides, head resting on palms. It's a very interesting, energetic sensation. It's very much saying, I'm so relaxed that I do not need to protect myself. To me, that's what it feels like in my body. Notice what sensations are in your body. What thoughts, feelings, or images arise. And if you can let those things go again, good or bad, it doesn't matter. Let them go and allow yourself to remain here in this breath, in this moment, in this settling in. Let's take another 3 to 5 breaths. And let your breathing get a little bigger. Expand yourself fully and sigh it out. Begin to find a little bit of movement, fingers and toes, hands and feet, arms and legs. Maybe they roll out, maybe they stretch, maybe they hug in. If you've got a bolster, you could just roll it away from you with your feet. You can roll onto your side, just like we did TV watching pose. Let's take a moment to ease ourselves toward upright. Top leg lengthening, head turns toward the floor. We just roll ourselves up, walking our bodies up with our hands. Bringing ourselves to a comfortable seated position. Bringing hands together at the heart, eyes closed. Your choice, head tucking to heart or head lifting up to the sky. Thank yourself for giving yourself this time to practice yoga. Thank yourself for this dedication that you have to the health of your mind, body, and spirit. May we all be filled with peace and ease and bring this out with us into the world. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this practice useful or enjoyable, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to this channel. Thank you. I'll see you next time on Yoga with Sara.